Expect a chance of rain Friday through Sunday, with temperatures in the 70s on Friday.
It's been an active week in the tropical Atlantic, that's for sure. Hurricane Fabian slammed Bermuda, and now we've got another major hurricane headed in that same general direction. We take you back a week. There is Bermuda, there's Fabian. Boom! 130 mile per hour gusts of wind. That's now out over the Atlantic Ocean. And now here comes another Category 4 hurricane. That, my friend, is Hurricane Isabel. 145 mile per hour maximum sustained winds. Here are the latest details from the National Hurricane Center for you. The latitude, longitude, and as of 11 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time, 1,100 miles east of the Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos are the southeastern Bahama Islands right here. Right here. They are the Turks and Caicos Islands. So this is about 1,200 miles east of the Turks and Caicos. Right in there. But the question is, will the hurricane head toward the Turks and Caicos? And you see what's just beyond that. Florida. Well, here's what we're looking at. Strong high pressure to the north of it. Notice the dry air denoted by the darker colors here. We've got drier, sinking air. High pressure to the north, steering the hurricane to the west. And we think that will continue for at least the next 5 days. So a westward track for the rest of tonight into Thursday and Friday and on into Saturday. And if it doesn't head further south, you'll get by only with some high surf on the north shores here in the Northeast Caribbean and Puerto Rico. Sunday and Monday, it heads closer to the Turks and Caicos. What happens after that gets very interesting. High pressure to the north. Will it be strong enough? Notice how these clouds come into play here. There's a weak trough of low pressure over the southeast part of the United States. Will this hurricane get close enough to start to feel those southwest winds such that it would curve it north? Further up the coast, perhaps, or maybe off the coast entirely. That's a possibility. Or will high pressure here, and you notice how cloud-free it is, will that get stronger over the southeast, serving to keep this pretty much on an east to west track? Right now, it's impossible to give you that answer. Impossible. What we do know is this is going to remain a very strong hurricane. And you've got through the weekend right now. Through the weekend here in the mainland of the United States. Early part of next week, make sure you know what's going on with Isabel. Right now, the Gulf of Mexico showing all clear. The Caribbean, for the most part, all clear. There appears to be a tropical wave moving onshore into Central America. And here, the tropical Mexican coast, all is clear as well. So that, my friend, is your tropical update. And the main star, Hurricane Isabel.
Well, there's plenty more to come in the second hour of the Weather Channel Evening Edition West Coast.
You're a local on the 8s. Next.
So we're out seeing how people use their computers. When we thought, hey, why doesn't Dell bundle the things people use to get the most out of their PCs?
With Hurricane Fabian gone, Henri basically out of the picture, and even the tropical depression back toward the Cape Verde Islands now dissipating, the only storm in town really is Hurricane Isabel, and what a storm it is. This is your tropical update. We're continuing to keep an eye on Isabel as it moves toward the west at 10 miles an hour. Its estimated central pressure at 936 millibars, and look at those winds, 145 mile an hour winds in the center, though we are seeing some higher gusts. 650 miles east-northeast of the Leeward Islands is where it's located right now, and on this track it would take it north of the islands. So the Caribbean looks like it's going to be storm-free as we get through the weekend. However, the same cannot be said probably of places like the Bahamas and even off the coast of the United States. We'll be watching that over the next several days as it continues to look very healthy here and not really expected to decrease in intensity all that much, although major hurricanes like this do fluctuate in their intensity off and on, but expected to hold its own all the way through the weekend as it continues to push west. It could provide the northeast Leeward Islands of Puerto Rico with some waves, the heavy surf probably 12 to 18 feet as we get through the weekend and into the first of next week, but this is one to watch all the way into next week around the coast of the United States. We need to watch this one closely. Elsewhere, the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, pretty clear here, as is the eastern Pacific Ocean. Just a few thunderstorms moving off the coast of Mexico, but we're watching a powerful typhoon continue to move towards South Korea. Maimi could bring a lot of rain over the next few days into that area. Kim?
And joining us now is Alexandra Steele of your weather today. Good morning, Alexandra.
Good morning, Kim.
I'll tell you what, it's been a stormy start for many residents in the center of the country.
Oh, yeah, certainly has been. And, you know, we're going to give you an update on how these storms could affect your morning commute. Plus, Hurricane Isabel is moving in the Atlantic. Dr. John Neese will explain the elements that make up a major hurricane at 50 past the hour in your tropical update. Now, Kim shows us the impact this cool summer's having on what's usually a high utility bill. Kim?
I'll tell you, the cooler summer is proving to be a damper on electricity use. Linda Bell has the trend, breaking news in the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Good morning. U.S. electricity use failed to reach a record this summer for the first time in 7 years. Cooler weather in the eastern half of the country and below average economic growth kept demand in check. According to data from industry trade group Edison Electric Institute, peak demand for electricity this summer reached over 89,000 megawatts during the week ended August 23rd. That's a drop of 1.8% from last year's peak of more than 90,000 megawatts. The drop in electricity use is taking a toll on corporate America. Mild weather through spring and early summer was already cited for lower second quarter earnings at utilities, including Ameren, Duke Energy, CMS Energy, Consolidated Edison, and Dominion Resources. And because this summer has been much cooler than last year, analysts say third quarter earnings could also be weaker for companies operating in regions with the mild weather. For the Weather Channel, I'm Linda Bell with the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Let's look ahead into the weekend now, and it's going to be stormy and much cooler throughout the midsection. Scattered thunderstorms around Chicago. Could affect you, too, around even Minneapolis. And in New York City, the Richmond County Fair, well, could see a little bit of a rain. Take the umbrella if you headed there. Looks better, though, around the Mid-Atlantic as the Baltimore Ravens host the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. You'll still see those scattered thunderstorms toward the north and back toward the Great Lakes. Here's that cooler air. Look at that, 60s and even a few 50s in the higher elevations. Still cool on into Sunday in the northern plains.
Folks traveling in the northeast today, Mark, travel problems?
I couldn't ask for a better day for travelers to most places. Looking at a gorgeous day today. Places like New York City should have a real nice afternoon. Nice and pleasant in D.C. and Pittsburgh should see sunshine. Only problems this morning in the east would be some valley fog in western PA to West Virginia.
And that'll be mainly this morning. That's it for First Outlook, everyone. Have a great day. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
Your weather today follows local on the 8s. We want to leave you with some pictures from Utah. It's beginning to look a lot like winter. Have a great day.
I'd love to buy you dinner.
Nice try. I know about the free rebate.
Okay.
The Swanson Dinner Rebate lets you try delicious fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and sweet corn for free.
So 8-ish?
No-ish.
Hi, how you doing?
Winds over 100 miles per hour. Cars blown off roads. And that's just an F1 tornado. Are you prepared? Go to weather.com/safeside for more safety information.
Janetta Jones. We're tracking a powerful hurricane in the Atlantic this Thursday, and it looks like we're going to be following it for quite some time. It is in the middle of the Atlantic, and it is a very, very strong hurricane, and you can see it right there in the middle of your screen. That is Hurricane Isabel. Right there, and the eye very distinct and visible on this particular satellite vantage point, and that's pretty far off. I want to give you the latest information. If you're plodding along with us, 21.4 north and obviously 54.5 west. That's as of 11 o'clock local time. Winds at 150 miles per hour. It's a Category 4 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. The movement is due west now at 9 miles per hour, and the estimated pressure is 930 millibars. So a very powerful hurricane. As you look at the satellite vantage point, you can see it's very impressive. The outflow is very impressive, and just a well-formed, well-developed hurricane, and very powerful. You don't want to see this coming at you. Over the next several days, the forecast calls for it to continue this track and probably continue this strength. It may start to weaken just a little bit because it has stayed very, very strong and very powerful for quite some time, all the way across the Atlantic, basically. And as you look at the visible satellite vantage point, you can see that eye wall very clearly defined right in the center, and the outflow, obviously, there coming out from the hurricane. Now, I want to tell you about the forecast. Over the next couple of days, it is going to miss the islands. Will not hit them directly, but we will see and feel the effects from it in the form of some heavy surf, riptides, that kind of thing. And then as we get beyond the weekend, it gets a little more unclear as to where it's going to be headed, if it will be affecting the Bahamas or the eastern seaboard. A little too soon to tell, but obviously we're very concerned about this hurricane and where it's headed and how it's going to be impacting us. A little closer to the lower 48, you may recall Henri, the tropical storm at one point moved across Florida, left us with a lot of rainfall, and then sort of was hanging out right off the coast of North Carolina. Here we go, Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. This is the coast of North Carolina. This, I know, looks very unorganized, especially after just seeing that picture of Hurricane Isabel. But this is what's left of. This is the remnants of Henri. Is it trying to redevelop? Maybe. We're going to keep an eye on that. Gulf of Mexico, quiet right now. Very, very quiet across the Caribbean. So the only thing we're watching is what's happening with Henri and obviously Hurricane Isabel just barely off the screen there. Here we take you to the islands, all looking fine. Don't forget, you will be feeling the effects, though, with the heavy surf and the riptides, perhaps. As we go off the coast of Africa, we have another wave that's coming off of the coast. We'll be bearing watching over the next several days. And in the eastern Pacific, all is relatively quiet here. Not quiet as we get to the western Pacific. Want to show you some pictures because we have a major thing going on here, and that is with a typhoon. Islands south of Japan are recovering after a visit from the typhoon. A powerful storm downed power lines and snapped trees. 53 people were hurt. 22,000 are without power, and the storm is heading towards South Korea. Unfortunately, heavy rains and winds will arrive for one of the biggest holiday weekends of the year in Korea. This was at one point a super typhoon. We are expecting a little bit of weakening as it moves closer and closer to South Korea and continues its track. Right now, winds are at 155 miles per hour. In the next 12 hours, they're expected to be downgraded, the winds that is, to about 120 knots. So a little bit weaker as it approaches South Korea. We'll probably be hitting South Korea in the next 24-hour period. So we're going to certainly watch that. What's going on here? Looking good along the eastern seaboard. In the middle of the country, not so great. That's where we're finding the chance for some strong to intense thunderstorms, maybe even heavy rainfall as you get into Oklahoma and Texas, and that could lead to some flash flooding. So we're concerned about that. We're also seeing the rain getting closer and closer to Des Moines, Kansas City, St. Louis. You'll be in for it tomorrow, so be prepared for the rainfall. This is a slow mover, so expect some of these areas to get heavy rain quite a bit, actually. Dallas getting into the showers and thunder showers this afternoon. Rush hour commute may be a little bit tricky for Dallas and Tulsa. More on that coming up next.
Dear DirecTV, cable says reception quality is poor with satellite TV. Lies! My reception is way better with DirecTV than it ever was with cable. Sincerely, John Amenta. Did I capture the guy's anger?
Expect a chance of rain Saturday through Monday, with temperatures in the 70s on Saturday.
Welcome back. It's 10 minutes before the hour and time for the Tropical Update. I'm Carl Parker. Let's check in with our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. And Steve, Hurricane Isabel, now an incredible Category 5 storm. And the big question is, can we, at this point, make any sort of determination with respect to the U.S.?
Well, Carl, it's still a little too early for that. We're still monitoring which way it's going to go over the next 5 days relative to the Bahamas. But it does look like it's going to come at least close, and that's a little bit scary. The good news is we think it may not be that strong as it gets all the way over toward the Bahamas area, at least as strong as it is now. Let's look at the latest information from the Hurricane Center and see 160-mile-per-hour winds making it a Category 5. It's moving west at 9. That's not very fast. Still about 1,500 miles from South Florida. That's a long way, and a little bit farther than that from Cape Hatteras, so it's a long way out there. What we can say is it's not going to affect the northern islands of the Caribbean. It's not going to directly affect the island of Puerto Rico, except you're going to have high surf there. But it's going to continue to move generally on a westward track. Now let's look at a close-up view of this buzzsaw. Look at that core of strong winds with a well-defined eye. Very well organized and tremendous symmetry, indicating a very strong hurricane indeed. Let's look at the upper-level winds. This gives us at least a temporary look at why it's so strong. The reason is it's got two outflow channels, one to the north, around the ridge of high pressure to the north of it, and one to the south and east into this upper-level low-pressure system. Now, this low-pressure system here is eventually going to weaken and either pull to the northwest or to the southwest, and that's going to make a little bit of a difference of whether this goes a little farther north, that is west-northwest, or pretty much stays on a west track, and it's a little too early to tell which way that's going to go. But here's our best guess through 5 days. Keep in mind, the 3-day forecast is what we typically had last year, so this area is new. Through 5 days, basically Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, north of Puerto Rico, high surf along the northern islands. Beyond that, encroaching on the Bahamas, southeastern Bahamas, or heading a little bit more toward the west-northwest at that time. Still too early to make any guess about landfall in the United States or whether it's going to occur. Now, in the meantime, Gulf of Mexico.